look, there are a number of ways that if I were you, I would consider starting, especially because you have something going for you, which is you have a few close homies that are riding with you on the business side.
Yeah.
And I can't stress, don't sleep on that, bro. That is the most important variable that you have going right now
Yeah.
is close homies that want to take the ride. Because people say, yo, don't do business with friends. I think that's a load of bullshit. I think you can only do business really with friends.
Yeah.
You can transact with people that aren't your friends, but like when it comes to buildings, like you got to know how someone is, bro, when
Exactly.
they're up, when they're down, and like
Exactly.
having that breadth and depth of context and
Yeah.
experience with someone. So you have that. And I wouldn't underestimate what you guys can do together as a unit, right? Like look at Harlem Capital. We started from scratch, just
Yeah.
me and three other close homies. It was four of us. We ended up raising a $40 million fund. Took us 3 years, 4 years to get there, but we pulled it off. So now transition over to real estate. My situation is set up such that I wanted to buy. There's a couple ways that you can go about it. You can start with some smaller deals. You can start by, and you probably know this stuff, but residential real estate is anything 1 through 4 units.
Yep.
And you know that when you start small, you can get away with residential financing, which means you can put 3.5% down. And it's called the FHA loan,
Yep.
right? So you can find for family in Allentown right now for um, I'm actually physically in Allentown, by the way, right now.
Oh,
Hey.
really? Damn, that's
Yeah,
lit.
yeah, yeah. I'm in one of my buildings. So you can start with a 4 unit. You buy it 250K, 300K. It sounds scary, that number.
Yeah.
But when you start learning about the mechanics of how the financing works, things become less scary because, 3% of 300,000 is $9,000.
Yeah.
With four homies, that's fucking nothing. It's
Yeah.
peanuts, right? It's 2000. Now look, 2000 is 2000. There's times when 2000 goes a really fucking long way. You guys know how that goes.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, to buy in to this game, you can't look yourself in the mirror and say that you're serious about it if, each of your homies can't round up 2000 by flipping shit on eBay, fucking scraping shit, working a job, whatever you got to do, you
Yeah.
round up, right? So now let's say you and each of your homies each have your 2.5K saved up, whatever. You have enough now to cover the down payment and some closing costs. This is the well charted path of you buy a 4 unit because it's just under the cutoff, because anything above that you have to show up with 20% down. And
Yeah.
now post coronavirus, you're talking 30% down.
Yep.
So once you get post 5 units, you do start needing a little bit more capital,
Yeah.
which, by the way, I can talk about how I did that with pretty little money by just raising money,
Yeah.
but that's a
Exactly.
different story. So now, if each of you and your homies live in one of those units and you rent out the other three, you will cash flow, right? And
Yeah.
and now you can, the more aggressive you are about, just in general, the more aggressive you are in pursuit of the goals, like things move a little faster, right? So I did the math when I was in your shoes, and I was like, okay, if I buy a 200K property, I put 3% down. That's 12 $9,000 after closing fees, called 12 grand. At that point, I could afford it on my own, but I was like, man, I'm just gonna own 3% because think about it, you're putting 3% down. The money that you put down is the equity that you have in the property,
Yeah.
right? So you're putting $9,000 down. Well, it's a good look on you that you, at the very least, you're not really paying rent, you're paying a mortgage. So
Yep.
at the very least, you are now in this schedule where you're building equity, right? However, your equity is still only $9,000, and that's not really going to like tra- transmit from on paper to like cash.
Yep.
So then you start looking into, okay, can I find a property where I can force a lot of appreciation? Can I find something that's fucking beat up and it's scary to take on, and
Yeah.
it's been on the market for 90 days, 120 days, because no one wants to take it on because it's beat up,
Yeah.
right? So now, if you take on a little bit of a riskier deal, right? Which, hey, you got 4 homies, like fixing it up, doing whatever. Now you can still do the same thing where you buy it with 3% down, but let's say you bought it at 150, and after you finish repairing, you can repair it nice and slow over the course of a year, and then you reappraise it at the bank, and now the bank says it's worth 225. You bought at 150.
Exactly. Okay.
The difference is 75,000. Now they're not going to give that to you in cash. They usually won't give you 100% of the equity that you have in cash, because a bank wants to protect themselves from you being over levered.
Yeah.
But if you have 75K in equity, they would give you 50K in a line of credit.
Okay.
So guess what? You just busted your ass. You got in with the littlest ticket possible. You created appreciation. You forced the value of appreciation, and you created equity, and then you tapped some of that equity, and now you have it as a line of credit. And guess what, bro? You just financed your next acquisition.
Exactly. Okay.
You take that line of credit, from the equity that you just built, you take it in cash, you can take it as a loan or whatever, and then boom, you just finance your next deal.
Okay. That makes perfect sense.
And so that is, now look, what I just shared, this stuff is second nature to me at this point. It wasn't when I first heard it. It's like, what you got to do is you almost got to hear it over and over.
Yeah.
Like repetition. Like, I wasn't that great student. I was in school. I also dropped out. But when I was like learning algebra, like you got to do the problem over and over, and then eventually there's that moment where you're like, I got it.
Yeah.
And so what I want you guys, what I would do in your shoes personally, is I would walk a lot of property. I used to call brokers and pretend that I had money right now and I was an all cash buyer and I'm ready to fucking go. Close in 30 days. Yeah. What you got? And brokers would be like, well, and then you'll start to see, if you go on loopnet.com, which is where they have the deals, the key is not to find the properties there, because usually the best properties are not on the market. The key is to connect with the listing agents.
Okay.
Right? Because if a listing agent has that property in their Rolodex, they usually have more good property.
Okay.
And they don't lead with their best deals on the market. They usually have a couple of good deals tucked away in the cut. And when they sense that someone's is a serious buyer, they'll say, hey, look, I got a couple of deals you can take a look at.
Okay.
And then you walk property.
Yeah.
And you ask questions. And so it's going to take you, and it took me probably a year and a half. It was the most frustrating year and a half ever, because I just wanted to buy right fucking now.
Yeah.
But it took me a year to a year and a half of laying the foundation.
Yeah.
You got to know what a cap rate is. You got to know what's the NOI.
Yeah.
You got to know why you like a market. Yeah. Allentown, by the way, lo and fucking behold, it's a great market, by the way.
Yeah.
I bought this building that I'm living in right now. I bought for $300,000. It's now worth $750 in 2 years. Woo-wee! Now a lot of that was value that we forced.
Yeah.
But a lot of that was just that the market is the market helped me. Right? So markets can hurt you or markets can help you.
Yep.
Or they can be neutral.
Yep.
Best case scenario is you force appreciation in a market that also went up, which is what happened in our case. Boom, boom, you get the double arbitrage. Base case scenario is you invest in a market that's neutral, and even if your property doesn't appreciate that much, you're at least cash flowing.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario is you buy a fucked up property in a market that's going, shitty. Yeah. But that's not going to happen to you.
Yeah.
So now, if you're like me, right? Like when I'm starting out and still I'm in this phase now, like it's not enough for me to invest and then make like $200 in cash flow.
Yeah.
Like it's just not what I'm after.
Yeah.
Like I'm more aggressive. We got to be more aggressive when we're young.
Yeah.
So I like that, you're wholesaling, you're brokering, you're making some cash, whatever. But I would really be in pursuit of, hairy deals is what they call them. Yeah. Deals with fucking hair on them that no one wants to touch. Because if you're willing to go through the ringer on some deals that, bruh, I came out of this deal. I went in this deal of a boy and I came out a fucking man.
Yeah.
I got my first few fucking hairs on my chest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My balls dropped a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
this deal was no joke.
Yeah.
but I'm super glad I went through it, man. I'm
Yeah.
super glad. And I probably went through one of the harder first deal experiences that I've heard from my fellow landlord friends.
Yeah.
Um, but when you go through it, no one can take it away from you, and you can just go on and get better. So that's my, if I were you guys, Bo, that's what I would do. And I'll just offer some thoughts on Tampa, and then I want to hear some questions. Um, Tampa is a great market. I looked into it myself, actually. I love Tampa. I love Orlando. I love Jacksonville. There's a ton of great markets in the U.S.
Yeah.
that are appreciating. Tampa in a lot of parts is pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So, if you go there, I wouldn't necessarily bank on, that you're going to like just get into deal making right away as far as being a buyer is concerned.
Yeah.
However, it's a great real estate market. A lot of good people, a beautiful town, also beautiful girls.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's an Tampa's nice, man.
Yeah.
But always stay looking. This is my personal philosophy. You don't have to adopt it, but it's just what I believe in real estate. I like looking at little pockets of town. Like I like investing in the rougher parts of town
Yeah.
because I'm just a firm believer that unless you come from a last name or you come from a zip code, right? Or you got some money or whatever, you got to start where people aren't willing to start.
Yeah.
So in Allentown, I only invest in the north side,
Yeah.
right here in the inner city, and you'll start to see if I want you guys to develop this investment philosophy of running towards where other people are running away from. So when you go to Tampa, you're going to hear the conventional wisdom. Oh, go downtown. There's a new stadium. There's a guy, what's his name? There's a guy who's doing a lot of development down there. He owns the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and all this other shit.
Okay.
He's doing a lot of, you'll hear all about him when you go down there. John Vinnick, I think his name is.
Okay.
But that's great. And I want you guys to be there to network and
Yeah.
know people and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I want you guys to look somewhere else for deals.
Yeah.
I want you guys every fucking Saturday morning driving around towns and looking and shopping deals and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, that's kind of what we're planning on doing. We're pretty much keeping that. We're gonna be for the whole center because we got $30,000 of assignment closing this month. So
Awesome.
so like our whole pretty much our strategy was we're gonna be getting this fast cash from wholesaling and then pretty much jumping into real estate.
Yep.
Exactly. So we did want to invest into the Allentown market. It was just kind of like this will be our first investment property. We do actually have a subject to property that we are buying and fixing and flipping over in Emmaus, Pennsylvania, like 5 minutes from over Allentown. So this will be like our first property we're technically going to own. I mean, really since it's subject to, but like we're looking to invest into multifamily, like you were just talking about the 3.5 down and all that. So that's pretty much our next step before. Or why, but like we'll have to fly back because we probably won't be able to get that done that fast in the next month. But yeah, we're looking for properties in the Allentown area that we could that we could use our. And I know with the FHA loan you got to live in it, so I'm not sure how that will work as well. And it can't be under LLC, right?
Correct. It can be under an L. I never did the FHA thing, by the way. The reason I shared it is because it's a very common way to get started.
Yeah, exactly.
However, I did a little bit more research and I didn't like some of the things that were in FHA, so I stayed away from it. I still think it's a great way to start, but correct, you can't use an LLC, and also they say you have to live in it. But my mortgage broker clarified for me. He says that the paperwork says you have to have intent to live in it, but he says that notice that intent to live in it. So you can buy an FHA property with the intent to live in it, but if something, life shit happens in life. So if you don't end up living in it because something happened in your life, let's say, you got a new job, you had to relocate, it tends to be okay. So no one's going to be hounding you for it.
So then are you able to rent out that side you're supposed to live in then, or do you still have to have
okay, you can rent it out. Yeah, you can rent it out.
Yeah. I mean, for the moment, just for us being like gone and being in Tampa, our plan was kind of just wholesale down there, wholesale Philadelphia, stay in that market, and then start going to the networking events, learning the real estate side and the buying side, getting the network and meeting the people down there. But I also want to invest in the multifamily down here. while we're down there. We probably won't be able to use FHA loan for our first one. I mean, we got cash coming in. We're really finally starting to pick up and become an authority in the space. And
I love it. And by the way, I'm a much bigger fan of not doing FHA and just doing 20% down when
yeah,
you can.
exactly.
That's what I did. And I like your game plan of going to Tampa, wholesale. You guys are building cash base right now. You're
Exactly.
building cash base through flipping and stuff like that. Flipping and wholesaling, Tampa, Philly, those are two markets that have a lot of volume.
Yeah,
Allentown doesn't have as much frequency, which is probably why you didn't like wholesaling here. So, you're building your cash base, and you might not want to do your first deal unless it's perfectly stabilized while you're living in Tampa, unless you're willing to fly over a lot.
yeah,
You might decide to invest down there. You might decide to just stack up cash until you have $100,000, and then you move back and then you start that way.
yeah.
There's a lot of ways that you can skin the cat, but I think you're going about it 100% the right way.
Yeah, thank you so much. But yeah, because also like I've been learning like credit and like the creditor space, and I've been building a lot of business credit under my LLC and all of that. So
Nice.
I know some strategic ways I could that I know people and my mentors they actually liquidate like their credit cards and some business cards for down payment on the property. I'm not sure if that's something you've ever done before, but that was probably might have been our first property. We might end up doing that, just liquidating a business card and then for down payment.
Yep.
But it really just comes to like I'm not familiar with like calculating. I mean, I guess I know what I need like to calculate the numbers and all the information I need to make sure the deal is good. I guess it's just I'm not familiar and comfortable with running numbers, but I'm still connecting with people to learn how to do all that. So I mean,
so do this, right? You don't. The good news is you don't need to connect with another soul to learn how to underwrite, right?
yeah,
Go. This is what I did. This worked really well for me. I went to biggerpockets.com, the
yes,
website,
yep,
and I went, and if you Google like deal analysis template, I have one. I'll send it to you. I use a more complicated one now. I started with a really simple one. And what I did was, if it bothered the shit out of me that I didn't know how to underwrite a deal.
yeah,
I wanted to buy real estate, but I didn't know when a good deal is a good deal.
yeah,
And so what I started doing was I took this template, and if you go on LoopNet, you know how they say like 10% cap rate, this is the NOI, this is the taxes, all that stuff. And I started popping that deal in, taking the inputs and putting it into the template.
okay,
It's a spreadsheet.
yep,
And then it'll show you the cash on cash return.
okay,
And then you'll then say, well, I don't know if this is a good cash on cash return.
yeah,
But then when you run a second deal and a third, and I literally would spend my nights just crunching deals.
okay,
And with volume, you start to understand what the norms are.
yeah,
And you start to really be able to develop a sixth sense almost that you're like, okay, this is a good deal.
yep,
Right. So I would do that in Tampa, and I would do that for Allentown. And then shit, you had just met and then with the credit thing, I am a big fan of that, by the way.
yeah,
My business partner has really great credit,
yeah,
and it has been a tremendous asset in our operation, because when it came time to buy another property that we own, I came out of pocket to fund my portion. I came out of pocket $25,000, and he used 0% interest credit
yeah,
card
that's what I'm doing.
and financed his down payment of $25,000, and we made the money back from the property, and he paid off the fucking interest, the credit with the building. So he essentially got it for free,
Exactly.
which is bananas. And that was a benefit that only he only had because he had great credit.
Yeah.
And so me, I've always been a guy that's always had more cash than credit.
Yeah.
So, in some sense that has helped me, because that I learned how to earn a lot of cash,
Yeah.
to compensate for not having as much credit. But now I'm now at that point where I have stronger credit and still strong earnings, and then you start becoming an ideal borrower. But
Yeah.
I really believe in getting how you fit in, man.
Yeah.
If you can get in, we're just like, the real estate will make you a fucking financing genius.
Yeah.
And for as much as Trump is an asshole, he's a fucking master at maneuvering money.
I agree.
He moves money, and that's what real estate makes you a master at, is like creative financing and stuff like that.
I agree, and that's why I feel like my team and like my core group of friends. I mean, it's really just us going doing everything we're doing right now. So I'm glad I got a part of like the credit and learning the credit early on, because that's helped me now that I have developed the skill for the credit, and now I've pushed it on to my business partner. So now all their credit is up to par, and now they're doing
that's great.
credit, and we're killing it with the cash right now. So I mean, we're really, really strong right now, and we're trying to just keep pushing and keep growing.
I love it, man. I really, you know, I like you guys a lot, man. I think you guys are, your head is in the right place. You're getting results. You've been laying the groundwork. You got a tight crew of homies that are putting in the work. You know, you developed an idea to go to fucking Tampa. Everyone's going, you know, like I like that. That to me is a lot greater indicator of success than like you close the deal or not.
Yeah,
it's like you have the right foundation in place, and I have no doubt you guys are going to be successful, man. So I'm a big fan. That email that I sent you a note on with my account, that's my personal email. So feel free to hit me anytime. If you're underwriting deals and you're stuck, if you want a second opinion on a deal, whatever, dude, just let me know, you know, and I'll for sure hit you back, man. So I really enjoyed this, man. You guys are onto something, and trust me, you know, you stick with it, bro. Like your life starts changing. Maybe not in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but like time goes by quick, man. And before you know it, your life is, you're fucking sitting pretty, and you'll be really thankful for all the hard work you put in. So keep it up, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the call. We appreciate it so much. Yeah, I'm about to put you on my story.
No
Have
doubt,
a good rest
man.
of your day.
I love it, man. Take care, fellas. Be well.
Goodbye. Yeah, that was